friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the channel. So tonight on AEW's Dynamite, guess what? We're on the road to crowning a new AEW Interim Champion. So here's the situation, if I understand it correctly. Tonight on Dynamite, there's going to be a Battle Royal. It's going to open with that. The winner of the Battle Royal is going to, 2 hours later, or an hour and a half later, face Mox, who is currently #1 ranked in line for the AEW World Championship. The winner of that match will then go on to the Forbidden Door and face the winner of Hiroki Goto versus Hiroshi Tanahashi, which I think is going to go down at Dominion. Whoever wins there is going to go and fight whoever won the match from tonight at Forbidden Door, and there's going to be an AEW Interim Champion. And then that person most likely will go on to lose to CM Punk at All Out coming up in September, in like 3 months from now. So this person's going to get like a 3-month run. You would think that a foot injury is probably no more than 3 months, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it'll be longer. Maybe it'll be at Full Gear or something. I don't know. Or a special episode of Dynamite. Whatever. Regardless, Punk's going to get that title back. You would think. But can we create a little bit of intrigue here? Can we maybe find an interim champion who might not actually be all that interim when the eventual CM Punk match happens? If CM Punk's out for like 6 months at some point, are they just going to say, you know what? We're going to drop that interim tag and just call you world champion. I don't know what they're going to do, but I decided that I have 5 names that I would love to see actually get that interim championship because it would create a lot of drama. And none of these names are Jon Moxley. Now, I am a fan of Jon Moxley, but he is the most safe pick possible. He is probably the most powered up guy in AEW. He's a former world champion, had the second longest reign behind Kenny Omega, and having an asterisk near his name if he loses to Punk really wouldn't be that big of a deal in terms of his overall legacy because, hey, he was already AEW world champion, so this isn't like a knock on him when you look back at his career, and I think that kind of matters to some people. So here are my 5 names that I think would make a killer interim champion moving forward. Here we go. Number 5, the other guy who's active that's a former world champion that is not also Hangman Page, and I'm talking about Chris Jericho. He's doing some pretty fun work right now with the Jericho Appreciation Society. It's that whole sports entertainer gimmick that they're sort of mocking in a way, the WWE way of doing things. And what better way to comment on that than by giving Jericho that world championship? And it'd be an interim championship, and he's already had the championship. And the idea of an interim championship is something that WWE already did back in 2011 when CM Punk left the first time, when he left the first time. So yeah, I think that would be kind of cool. Jericho, I think, checks a lot of the boxes that you could want with an interim champion. It would elevate the Jericho Appreciation Society thing, especially posted Blood and Guts, because that's coming up on June 26th. Forbidden Doors just a couple days before that, if my math is correct. And so that could totally elevate that episode of Dynamite if your world champion, interim world champion, is walking into Blood and Guts as champion, because clearly Eddie Kingston's group is gonna win that one. So yeah, I think Jericho would actually be a pretty decent name to first be the guy to carry that AEW interim championship. Number 4, next up on my list, is MJF. Look, he's the hottest thing right now in wrestling. Everybody wants to know, is this a work? Is this a shoot? Is it real? Is it fake? Warner Discovery took a bunch of his stuff down. They took him out of promos. It looks like he's been fired from AEW, but not really, because come on, that's ridiculous. Tonight on Dynamite, either we will or we won't see him. Maybe they'll remove any and all mention of the guy. I don't know. The only reason he's so darn low on this list is because it'd be weird if he just showed up and won a battle royal when he just asked to be fired. You would think, being the guy that has the championship, the last thing he'd want to do is be champion if he's asking to be fired. At the same time, I know they can just replay the whole CM Punk thing where he takes the title and then he holds it up, or he goes to other territories and defends it there, which could be fun if they did it right. But I don't know. To me, I would be hesitant in how far you want to go replicating another company's storyline. That's my thing about that. So I don't know if MJF is a great pick, but he is. I mean, the bottom line is him and Cody are like the two most talked about wrestlers right now in wrestling. So it wouldn't be a terrible idea to have him take that title and just sort of roll off with it. On top of that, the idea of an MJF versus Tanahashi match is kind of intriguing. So, yeah, my number 4 is MJF. I don't even know how you get there, but I think he's not a terrible idea right now, given that there's so much interest in MJF. Number 3, my third name on this list. I'm going from least desirable to most desirable, but they're all desirable. Number 3, Bryan Danielson. This would create a lot of intrigue because he's sort of like CM Punk in that he's a bigger name. He made a big name for himself in WWE. He was a big deal when he came over to AEW. He's super powerfully booked, right? Like he took Hangman Page to a 60-minute draw, then he lost to Hangman Page. But I think this would create some intrigue because what if over the next like 3 to 5 months or whatever it is, 3 to 6 months, what if he actually helped to build the company even more? You get him in a bunch of the mainstream sports publications like Sports Illustrated and stuff like that. ESPN maybe covers this if he ends up winning. And then you get some sort of that backstage intrigue. When Punk comes back, are they just going to put the title back on him? Is Punk's window done and Danielson's the guy? So I think that would pose a couple of very interesting questions because I'm not sure Danielson, they would want him to be just an asterisk guy. They'd want him to come in, get the title, and then maybe even unify it with the real world title. And Danielson's the kind of guy who, if he got the interim championship, they could run a little storyline where he just demands that it be called the real world championship. And then that's how they end up dropping the interim tag, is that he's like, hey, unless somebody else can beat me, Punk's out. I'm the real world champion. And then, I don't know, you can just sort of call him the real world champion. And you can just stick him in the legacy of world champions. I don't think that's a terrible idea, to be honest with you. So yeah, Bryan Danielson, everybody would love that. Everybody loves Bryan Danielson. This new iteration of him, this new old iteration of him is actually really super over. He's awesome. Oh, that was a big stretch. And yeah, I think a lot of people would love to see Bryan Danielson as AEW world champion. She just heavy side. Next up, number 2, Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe is the perfect veteran to sort of like fill into a slot, knowing that it's going to be a temporary thing. Obviously, him and Punk already have a lot of history going back to Ring of Honor. And Samoa Joe's that veteran who, if he gets that AEW World Championship, you know it's in good hands. Everybody loves Samoa Joe. He's a badass. There's a lot of parallels between him and CM Punk. And then when Punk comes back, yeah, you just have Punk drop that or win that title back from Samoa Joe. And Joe would be a great nemesis for CM Punk because Joe can be a good guy or he can be a bad guy. And I don't think, Samoa Joe, he's already got such a legacy, such a long lasting legacy that if he was simply interim AEW world champion, it wouldn't really tarnish his legacy. I don't really feel like having an asterisk next to his name would do much damage to like his history. It's like, hey, here's a guy who we know is a top name. He's reliable. He's going to put on the best matches every night. And that's sort of like CM Punk. So why not just fill in one guy with the other guy that's basically like CM Punk anyways? And you give Samoa Joe that title for the 3 to 6 month span. And then whenever they unify him, he's another guy they can just say, hey, I'm world champion. I'm no interim champion. And he's like, bring on all comers. And then he beats them all. So, yeah, I think Samoa Joe is actually really, really good. Plus the idea of him carrying both the AEW championship and the Ring of Honor TV championship. I think that'd be actually really cool. All right, let's move on to my number 1 pick to be interim AEW champion. And that's, of course, Eddie Kingston. This would make all the sense in the world. Eddie Kingston already had a feud with Punk that was far too short. They had a really fun match. And the idea of Eddie walking into Blood and Guts as world champion, the idea of Eddie, who would be, by the way, the most over champion in the history of AEW. He's already the most over wrestler in the history of AEW. The idea of the same guy who is carrying around that gas tank, trying to light people in AEW on fire, having that guy be your world champion for 3 to 6 months would be outstanding. It's the ballsiest move. Plus, He'd have to beat Mox, the first guy to sign up for Blood and Guts, in order to get to this title. That would be amazing. I feel like ever since the gas can incident, Eddie Kingston needs to be the guy who kicks it up a notch. He finds another level of violence, and that maybe propels him to the title. I think this would be wildly fun. I want to see Eddie Kingston as world champion. And then when Punk comes back, he can beat him because that's sort of Eddie's thing. He's like the lovable loser who everybody loves. But he's not like really that much of a loser. But yeah, he loses all the big matches. But this would be the one huge one that he wins. And then Punk comes back, and then Eddie Kingston's story would be even more compelling after he loses the title. Or what if he wins the actual world title from Punk? What if Punk comes back and they don't have him drop it? I don't know, man. I don't know if AEW, I don't know if Tony Khan has the balls to do this. But Eddie Kingston is your AEW world champion. Nobody would complain. Nobody would complain, and it would be amazing, and I want to see it. Is there anybody out there who would not want to see Eddie Kingston as world champion? Forget about the business aspect of things. Forget about what AEW would do or they should do. This makes all the sense in the world. Have it be Eddie Kingston. It's probably not going to be. It's going to be Mox. Yeah, that's which is fine. He's a very, very safe pick. And I feel like AEW wants to go with that route right now, where they have somebody with the title who's got a big, who has big name recognition. So it's probably going to be Mox. But any of these names would be better than that, to be honest with you. Anyways, that's what I think. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Dynamite's tonight, so this video has a very limited view window. Kind of. I mean, Forbidden Door isn't it? Yeah, no, Mox is going to win tonight. So, I mean, none of these names are really going to be the thing. That'd be cool if it was, though. Anyways, thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate it. Check out this other video here. It's my Hell in a Cell review. Cody with that torn pec and everything. Ooh, boy, that was rough, huh? Anyways, we'll see you over there.